that a PIO is the government equivalent of a public relations officer, and that's only partially true. When it comes to public information, the PIO has an obligation to provide accurate, truthful, and timely answers to the public, whereas that's a little different perhaps from a public relations professional strictly in the private sector, where you're somewhat more just worried about the image. In this case, you do keep some perspective on trying to portray your organization in a positive light, but the underlying really important thing is to make sure that you put out timely and accurate information. Most larger cities have them, and it's a space that allows key decision makers to be in the same area during an event such as this, and they can make decisions how we will move forward with resolving whatever the problems are that come up. This would be, we don't do it normally in a snowstorm, but this particular snowstorm was severe enough that we deemed it necessary. But it's the type of thing that if you were in a community and there was going to be some flooding that might occur, or let's say that we were in on the West Coast and it was an area that had fires that were out of control, this type of a facility allows all of those key decision makers to basically be together and determine how they will allocate the limited resources that are available. The forecasts, and that's what we based our decisions on, the forecast from the National Weather Service has indicated that this storm would be far greater than any storm that had been through in years. And I think this is the first time since the early 80s that we've had a blizzard classified in our area. The descriptions were such for the forecast that when we started hearing that the accumulation amounts could be a foot to perhaps 20 inches or so within our region, it became incumbent upon us to start thinking about, okay, if this really were to develop into that level of a storm, how might that affect us? We have concerns about things such as roofs collapsing with heavy snows. How would you deploy fire apparatus during heavy snows? So it's important that the emergency responders and the people who are going to try and keep the roads open so they can respond are all working in the same space. For this particular storm in our city, we have personnel from the Public Works Department because they are the primary snow removal unit. We have staff from the Fire Department and the Police Department because those are folks that respond to emergencies, as well as the EMT needs that go on. But we also have folks from the Health Department, from the Parks and Recreation Department, because we count on them for some sheltering type needs, and they also provide vehicles for plowing snow. They're larger trucks. The Water Department, we want to make sure that they're here because extreme cold weather impacts water mains. We have a lot of water main breaks when it's really hot or really cold. And we actually have some external people, such as representatives from the Power and Light Company. They're here because their infrastructure overlaps ours, and we all want to know kind of what's going on. So this type of a facility provides a way that we can provide a coordinated and uniform response to utilize our resources in the most effective manner possible. When we have adverse weather like this, and this is a pretty severe storm, it's really helpful for residents to just kind of settle down, stay at home, and to let the snowplow crews clear the streets. I know that there are a lot of folks who live in areas that have on-street parking, especially in the central parts of the city that are older, and they rely on that on-street parking. But when everybody parks on street, it makes it very difficult for plows to get in and provide the same level of service as it might in some other areas where the streets were built later and they're wider. So if residents can, in the case of a snowstorm, put their vehicles off the street, in a driveway, in a garage, or if you're having to park on the street, try to coordinate with your neighbors to all park on the same side of the street. That makes it so that we can render some type of a passable lane.